maybe I'll share this session in case if you can't able to, what you call the join back with audio, then you can go through that session. Okay, give it a try in your own way. So if you run this program, right, like Java application, you got the result as 0 because it's let's say, yeah, so 10 by 20 is like 0, right? Let's run this program again. You got results as 2. Okay, good. Let me say like body. So if I keep these values like this, and you need to pass here a comma b. Now you got some exception, arithmetic exception. So we know, because if somebody pass 0 value, we need to handle it. So one way to handle is try, and then as we need to return the results in. Okay, nice. So in C value, so try expects catch exception equal to SYSOUT. Exception occurred. So initially I will make it 0. Okay. So when I run this program, now we are seeing that the exception occurred, right? Arey Baba, how do I disable these things? Very distracting. So you can see instead of earlier arithmetic exception got, now you are saying exception occurred and result is 0. Okay. So this is one way of handling exception. Another way of handling is, so who is the culprit here? Like is method 1 is the method 2 is the culprit, or method 1 is the culprit? Who is the culprit? Like what I mean to say culprit is who passed the wrong values? Who passed the wrong values? Method 1 is passing the wrong value. So it's method 1 responsibility. It's method 1 responsibility to take care of whatever the exception happens in method 2. If method 1 passes proper values, method 2 executes properly. If method 1 proper not sends the data in properly, then method 2 can't handle it. So why should method 2 should take the responsibility for the wrong inputs provided by method 1? Getting my point? So in those cases, right, let the caller take care of it. Okay, let the caller take care of it. Whatever the exception happens, let the caller take care of it. So what you can do, all you can do is just remove all this all this stuff, and then what you can do, throws. As you know what kind of exception you are going to what are the chances of what kind of exception that you're going to get in these 3 lines? Only arithmetic exception chances are there, right? Arithmetic exception. Okay, arithmetic exception. Okay, so now it's method 1 responsibility to taken care. So if something happens here, right, in this line, if something happens, what will happen? This method simply throws. Okay, you provided some inputs to me. I executed. As part of execution, I got an error. So I believe it's because of your inputs. So you go and take care. You go and take care. So that is what it is called. Instead of handling exceptions, at what you called instead of handling exceptions inside the calling function, you can handle those exceptions inside the callable function. Okay, so what you need to do here, so as this guy is simply throwing an exception, you need to handle it here. Try you move this guy inside. This is where the exception happens, right? And the scope is so now you see the scope of result is what within the try block. So as soon as it comes out from the try block, the result will become not accessible. That's the reason you are seeing error. So what you need to do, you need to declare outside of try block, and then assign the result value. Okay, then what you need to do, catch x arithmetic exception. Now we keep the statement as exception bad input. Something, this is a variable, you can give whatever you want. Okay, so if you look at here, right, so now what we're doing, instead of earlier statement we kept all the try catch block here, right, but here method 2 is not the responsible for the introducing that exception. Whoever is the responsible, let them take care, because they know very well what can happen based on the inputs, right, in those scenarios. So in simple way, if you don't want to handle the exceptions inside the method, instead of try catch blocks, provide method level exceptions. This is called method level exception, and let it the caller will take care of the handling the exception. Okay, got it? So what will happen, this guy will throw arithmetic exception and it will go back here, and it is in try block, so exception happened. So then it comes into the method 1 catch block and displays bad input. Let's see. So bad input it got, result is default value 0. You got my point? So that is called throws. That is where you need to use throws keyword. So these are the different ways of handling exceptions. There is another keyword, important keyword called throw. This is throws. Yeah, before going into another keyword, like basically, so let's say now you here handling like int equal to new. Okay. So you need to declare the size. I'm just saying 1. So I'm a of 0. I'm keeping 12. A of 1. 23. Okay. So now what kind of so there are two types of exception chances. One is arithmetic exception, another one is as I'm keeping extra value because size is 1 but I'm keeping 2 values, so there is a chance of array index out of bound exception also, right? Let's see what will happen. So it says arithmetic exception because it happened first, this exception happened, so it doesn't care about the next consequence statements, the next statements, right? So if I move these statements above, Now see. Java array index out of bound exception. So array index of bound, so instead of coming bad input, it is coming actual error. Why it is? Because you are not handling array index out of bound exception. All you are throwing is arithmetic exception. Only if it is arithmetic exception, it will throw. Yeah, all other exceptions, you are not handling it. So what you can do, if you want to handle, so if you know other exception also going to happen, what you need to do? Comma array index out of bound exception. Okay, simply throwing doesn't help because you need to catch proper exception as well, right? X out of exception. Array index overflow. Now see. See, because this statement started executing, when the moment this statement executes, exception occurs, and immediately whether the corresponding exception is throwing or not, array index of bound exception is throwing, so it will go here and corresponding array index out of bound exception will be catched, and this is the line displayed. So if I move these three lines to below, so now what kind of exception I am going to get? Bad input because arithmetic exception is happening, so a bad input is going to execute. Okay, so you don't know what kind of exception you are expecting, right? So you don't know what kind of exception happens. So what you can do that time? Simply exception. See, you got some error. What it is saying? Oh, sorry, you got error, compilation error itself. Okay, so basically what it is saying, you are throwing method exception at a superclass, all the exception superclass you are throwing, but you are handling only arithmetic and array index. You are not handling superclass exception. So you need to handle it in order to resolve that problem. So catch unhandled exception type exception. So exception type is not handled. So there is a, you are saying in method 2, there is a chance of getting any kind of exception. This line, the highlighted line, means there is a chance of getting any line of any type of exception. But here you are handling only arithmetic exception or index of bound exception. So what you need to do, you need to handle exception as well. Exception E. And you know the sequence, right? Which one to keep first. See? Make sense? So this is all about exceptions. There is no, this is all about throws. So there is another keyword called throw. This is throws keyword, right? Method level exception. Throws is method level exception. So throw is another keyword called throw. What is the use of it? Basically the use of throw is, if you want to throw your own exceptions. If you want to throw your own exceptions, what do you mean by your own exceptions? All the exceptions that we are throwing as of today, as of now, is built-in exceptions. Built-in Java built-in exceptions. So these are the exceptions that Java has been provided, right? All the technical exceptions Java provided, let's say, okay? But Java doesn't provide user-defined exceptions, right? So if you are in banking sector, there are different scenarios where different kind of exceptions may happen in banking sector. So let's say user entered wrong amount. Let's say he has a balance of 2000 and he is trying to transfer 3000. So what will happen? It will say exceeding the amount. Exceeding the amount that you have in your checking account or savings account. That is specific to bank, right? You can't use that exception in insurance company. You can't use that exception in Hospital, right? In hospital, what will come? Let's say hospital, like, like a bill not generated exception, or patient not fully paid exception. These kind of different scenarios will happen based on different industry, right? So these are all called user defined exceptions, not Java or built-in exceptions. These are user defined exceptions. Okay, based on your business, based on your industry, based on your requirement, based on your context that you are writing, some exceptions happen, right? Those kind of exceptions are called user defined exceptions. Whatever we wrote as of today is built-in Java exceptions. So in order to make use of built-in exceptions, Java, you need to have you need to start using throw keyword. In order to make use of built-in exceptions, you need to use throw keyword. So let's see how we're going to use it, and let's see one banking example and see what happens. Yeah, as part of this class, if I can explain, toString, I explained already. So let's go. Yeah, let's see. So let's write throw demo. Okay. So basically what I'm going to do is, like, I'll take input from the user. Okay. I will take input from the user, and what I will do, I will verify whether the user input is, like basically what I'm trying to say is, I will write a program now, where I'll take input from the user, and if the input is less than 16 digits, then I will say it is an invalid card. Basically all our credit cards is 16 digit number, right? You got my point. So all our credit card is 16 digit number, right? So I'm going to write a program, like, if user enters his card, I will ask user to enter the card number, and if user try to provide wrong inputs, then I'll say you provided wrong input, or else I'll say you invalid input, kind of thing. If we provide proper input, then I'll say your uh, account has been accepted and we will process your transaction, something like that. Okay, so let's write some program called card invalid exceptions. So this is card invalid exception is something user defined exception I'm writing. Okay, I'm writing separate class from now onwards, just to make you earlier I was writing in a single class all the classes, right? Only by keeping one public class. Now I'm going to write separate. So card invalid exception. Uh, Basically, how are we going to write user defined exceptions? So before writing this program, there is a couple of statements you need to remember all the time whenever you're writing your user defined exceptions. Those statements are, did I open? Yeah, user defined exceptions. Write your own exception class. So these are the few rules to write your own exception class. Okay, write your own exception class by extending java.lang.exception, by extending java.lang.exception or java.lang.runtime exception. Okay, all user defined exceptions are runtime exceptions. That's the reason you can extend a runtime exception or exception class and write one or more constructors based on your requirement. I'll show you. Okay, you need to write a couple of constructors because you want to trigger, you want to throw that, right? So in order to throw, somebody has to create an object. Java will create an object. So I mean, you need to create an object. In order to create an object, you need to have a constructor, right? So and override toString method. Override toString method. If required, override equals and hash code method. So toString equals hash code. All these methods are available in which class? Which built-in class? Object class, super class, right? Remember those things. So first thing is I'm writing our own exception class. What it says, extend either exception class or runtime exceptions. I'll say runtime. If you want, you can write a simple exception class also. You can extend exception class also. Okay. So next thing is what it says, write one or more constructors. Let's write constructors. You remember, right, how to write a constructor? Then override toString method, public. How to override? String toString, exactly whatever it is there in the super class, object class, whatever it is, the structure, what is the whatever the whatever the method signature the toString method is having inside the object class, same thing you need to use. Otherwise it won't, if the moment you say something blah 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 here, it's not override method. Okay, you need to follow exactly, signature should be same in order to override. So I'll use some keyword like, you know, what you call I'll take some number here, number not equal to null. So if number is not null, then I'll say return something went wrong and you provided you provided input and number. Basically this method is returning string, right? So you need to write a string in the same format, right? So you're returning string here. So you need to provide input. Okay. So we wrote one class, one exception class. This is going to be our user defined exception, which is called card invalid exception. So the rule is, first you need to build how can a particular class becomes an exception class. Then you need to extend either by runtime or extend by exception class. Then write one or more constructors based on your need, and then write override to string method. Okay, we did. If required, override equals and hash code method, that is not required for now. When I will explain like objects comparison, we will see. Okay. So now we have user defined exceptions through demo. I'll go to throw demo class and in public static void main, what I will do is try cat, I'll say card invalid exception CI, anything you can use variable, right? Here I'll write another method. So let's say if the user provided number is called number dot length assigned to 16, you'll see like your card accepted, we will process your request, something like that. Just convey to the message, right? User else throw. So this is where we are using throw new card invalid exception. Make sense? So if I see now, try to understand this, what we tried. So before this you need to call this method one, right? So system dot, what are you trying to, please enter your card number to process the request, something like that. Then you need to take the input from the user, right? Scanner dot scan equal to new scanner system dot in. So now I just got an input. I'm going to take the input scan dot. I'll take like number into string because this is size, right? And scan. I can check the length easily. So scan dot next string number. Okay, you can say number, whatever you want. So you took the number. Now you need to pass it to method one. So method one and new MB number. Okay, so this is all you need to do. So what we did here, so first we asked user to provide an input. Okay, user provided, you took that input into scan dot next, and you took it as a string, and then you pass that string to method one. Method one is getting triggered. Method one is having what? It took the number value, whatever the user entered value, and then you'll simply checks the length. That's the reason I can write a single function instead of verifying the length of the int. If I take int right here, it will you need to add some logic. So that is not my goal. My goal is to show you how to write the throw, right? So Once if the length is same, you say your card is accepted, we will process your request. Else you just throw the card invalid exception. What will happen? Throw new card invalid exception. It will go here and it will display system dot something went wrong, and then what will happen? Then go back. So that's what this when it got triggered, that line will executed, and then immediately what will happen? This try block, right? Exception happened, so it will go to here, and then CIE card invalid exception. Card invalid exception, you just displayed. What will happen? Card invalid exception dot CIE is if you write a object reference variable, if you try to display object reference variable as is, then it will by default Java considered as just toString. Okay, by writing like this or by writing like this, both are same. Okay, so CIE dot toString method. So toString method in the card invalid exception has been overridden, right? So what will happen? This line will start execute. This line will start. This toString method will start. So it will check number. What is the number? So number is null or not. If it is number is null, then it will say like, you know, you need to provide input. If number is not null, it will say what you called you provided input and says the invalid number whatever entered by the user. So let's see what will happen in this program. You need to run the demo wherever public static void main class is there. Okay, so enter the card number to process the request. Okay, I'll say 987654321 1 2 3 4 5 6. This is the 16 number, right? 16 number? No. So your card is accepted, and then we will process your request, which means as I entered a proper value, it simply went into the right place and it's right area, and it says your card accepted, you will process your request. Let's see another scenario. I'll come back to your question later. Give me a second. So I will enter only 4 digits. Okay, something went wrong, you need to provide input. You see, something went wrong, you need to provide input because you didn't provide the input, right? So I'll show you small correction I'll do here in the program. I will write. For now, you got my point, right? What we're trying to do here. So when you enter wrong input, when you try to enter card number, when you try to enter less than 16 digits or greater than 16 digits, let's say let me try to enter greater than 16 digits, it will say something went wrong, you need to provide the input. So if I try to enter 16 digits exactly, it will say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 16 digit number it is. Okay, your card is accepted, we will process your request. So what exactly happened here? So if you go to throw demo, you provided input taken, and method 1 is called, this is the typical, and here you check the number. If it is 16 digit, it will say your card is accepted, we will process your request. That is only one criteria we are writing. So going forward, if you want to build an application which will credit card swipe, you need to check the CVV number, right? You need to check the expiry date using the date functions, and you need to check, make sure like date is not in the past year, right? Past month or past date. Date should be always, expiry date should be always future, and the CVV number should be always 3 digits. If you're Dominican Express, CVV number should be 4, and you can write those kind of criteria logics. I'm just writing to show you only one logic. For my case, if If user enters 16-digit number, then I'll consider it as it's a credit card number and I'm accepting it. Okay. If it is not, what will happen? Card invalid valid exception will trigger, and it will say something went wrong, and then it will come to toString method here. This method, this one will called, and then what will happen? You provided input is you need to provide the input. Okay. So what if you want to display what user entered along with, if you, instead of saying something went wrong, I mean, instead of saying like, you need to provide inputs, you need to say like, the number expected is 16, but you provided only 40. The number is expected is 17, I mean 16, but you provided on 30. Those kind of customized message if you want to provide to the user, then what you need to do, you need to write argument constructor. What is that? Argument constructor. So before going to this, let me answer this question. So you said CIE.toString is similar to CIE. Does it work the same way if there are more than two methods in the? We don't have a method at all, right? First place. You can't write two toString methods, right? Can you write two string methods? Can you overload two toString methods? You always going to have only one toString method as you are overriding, not overloading. As you are overriding toString method that is there inside object class. You are overriding the toString method that is there in the object class. You are not overloading. Okay. Cool. Next question is, yeah. So what we need to do, if you want to do more customized message to the user, you need to write argument based constructor. So in this, what I will do, string input. Okay. Then what I'll do, I'll assign this input to this number. Okay. Number equal to input. So input value is been now assigned to number. So if number is not null, you provide input. You provided input. Okay. And actually card number must be 16, but you provided card number, you provided of size number dot length. See now what will happen, let's see. I'll go back to here. So if I entered say correct number, 16 number, you need not worry about. So we need to see error scenarios, right? Oh, did I not compile? Oh, basically here you are calling still default constructor, but we need to call argument based constructor. So you need to pass the user provided number. So now see what will happen. Something went wrong. Card number must be 16, but you provided of size 4. Getting my point? So if I provide, see something went wrong, card number must be 16, but you provided of size 32. Okay, this is how the, even in banks or wherever you see some messages, right? Like, red marks in Bank of America, when you try to transfer or something like that, right? Red marks you will see. So those marks are nothing but way of handling the exceptions. Got it? So if you want to throw your own exceptions, user defined exceptions, then use the throw. Use the throw keyword. Got my point? Got my point? Okay. So yeah, that's it in terms of exceptions. So before going to so what you can do, take it as an assignment, give it a try. You can add these constraints like I mentioned, right? CVV number, add another, write another CVV constraint, CVV user defined exception, and take more than one input like from the user. Take card number and then take CVV number, take expiry date, take bank type. So if it is a Visa, then you need to look for CVV as 3. If it is American Express, you need to look for CVV as 4. So put those all criterias. So first check the number, right? If number size is number length is 16, okay, card length is correct. Then you need to check size of the CVV. Then you need to check the date. So if everything is correct, then you need to say, okay, your card is accepted. Otherwise, corresponding exception need to be thrown. If in this case we are throwing only card invalid, you can write another class called CVV invalid exception, another class called expiry date invalid exception. Okay, so those kind of exceptions you can write and handle it accordingly. Okay, cool. Yeah, so finally we are going to collections. Not today, definitely. Something collections and equals method. In collections, we'll do at least 10 plus programs. I'm hoping you guys are going back and practicing. I don't know. It's your call. All I can do is suggestion. We can cover. That's not a big deal. If you can cover collections in the next 3 days, 3 to 4 days, then yeah, we are in pretty good shape. Like by end of next week, we'll complete core Java. Or else if certain topics I can skip, but I'll try. uh, I'll try at least at least each topic one example, but collections we'll do at least 10 plus 15 plus programs. Yeah, today, but try those assignment like whatever I gave it to you, like trying out CVV, trying out date. Look for date functions in Java, how to use the date function in Java, what kind of different date functions that has been there in Java. So how do you validate just month and year? How do you validate month, year, date? Okay, those kind of functions, use it and write, just like card invalid exception I wrote, you write CVV invalid exception and date invalid exception, and you can keep bank invalid exception. If somebody says like what kind of card, you can ask input as what kind of card. If somebody says instead of Visa, American Express or Discovery or MasterCard, if somebody say blah blah blah, then you need to say there is no such card. Okay, so those kind of exceptions you can try to write. Those are all nothing but like in day to day in your job, you're going to do all these kind of exceptions. This is so much important. Okay, user defined exceptions and exceptions are very much important. The moment you go into the college, I mean office, and if you get a already existing project, you will see everywhere these kind of exceptions handling. So you should not get panic or you should not get surprised with those. Okay. Yeah, that's it for today. Tomorrow we'll start collections. Thank you guys.